My role is to tell the story of Sonberk, to tell what it means wine for all the senses. The hills we are looking at, these are the Pálava Hills.
I'm excited now about what you're opening because I read about it. So
Did you? Lay the grapes of Pálava and you dry them for at least 3 months. Because when I said that this is a native grape, most people tell you that they don't want to taste it because it's too sweet for them.
It's a good one. Cheers, Kristína.
Cheers, Jan. Welcome to Sonberk.
Yeah, and thank you for inviting me so short notice. Just coming from Warsaw, and yeah, you just said, like, of course, as long as you come before 3 p.m., I have time to show you around. Thank you. We are at a very, very special place here in Moravia, right, in Czech Republic. My first time here, but can you maybe quickly tell us why we put up the camera here and we are looking on these beautiful hills behind us?
All right, yeah. We are, as you correctly mentioned, in South Moravia now, and we are at the Sonberk winery. So for those who, to orientate in the map, so we are in the southeast part of the Czech Republic, and we are close to the borders to Slovakia and to Austria. To give you this in driving hours, if you would drive from Sonberk in 1 hour, you would be in Bratislava, the capital of Slovakia. On the other highway driving, you would be in 1 hour in Vienna. If you would be driving to the west in 2 hours, roughly, you would be in Prague. So we are quite centrally located, which is very convenient for people who want to visit. And the hills we are looking at, these are the Pálava Hills, which is a UNESCO protected heritage site, nature-wise. So we are looking at Pálava Hills, and on the other side we are seeing the winery building, which was opened in 2008 and projected by the top Czech architect Josef Pleskot as the first Czech chateau in the middle of the vineyard.
You have, like, how many of your hectares around here? You have 45 hectares in total today, right? But I mean, how much is directly around the estate, roughly? It looks a lot from Google Maps, actually.
All right. Yes, when you look from Google perspective, it looks, our winery building looks like a tiny square in the middle of green vineyards. And we have 40 hectares around the house, plus 5 more hectares roughly 2 kilometers to the west. That is the sister vineyard called Mitterberg. And maybe I should tell you why this place is called Sonberk, because we have not mentioned that. Everything was here before the company came. So the Sonberk is named after the vineyard, which is named after the hill Slunečná. So if we would not be looking at the winery, we would see through at the hill Slunečná, which is not a proper hill. It is 234 meters above sea level, and it is called Slunečná, meaning the sunny hill. In German, it was described as Sonnenberg, and the Czech have changed that to the Czech description Sonberk. So we haven't invented anything, everything was here already before we came.
Please introduce yourself a little bit. What is your role here at Sonberk in bringing the wine into the glass?
Thank you for asking, Jan. I'm the marketing manager at Sonberk. My first harvest here was 2011. And when I spoke about continuity, this is something which we take very seriously at Sonberk, that you have the same winemaker, the same vineyard manager, the same vineyard, and that we know what we are doing. So for me, my role is to tell the story of Sonberk, to tell what it means wine for all the senses, the landscape, about the history of the site. It's about the vineyard, how we approach it, how we work with the vines, how we work with the grapes, what happens in the cellar, and what the people can do with the wine afterwards. It's a mosaic. That's why we call it Sonberk, wine for all the senses. It's not only about wine growing or wine production or only about architecture. It's a mosaic where everyone can come and pick what they need or what they want. I was thinking about maybe giving you a few more information on the site here, on the historic site, because of course we could start with the history of wine growing in this area, and we could go as far back as the 2nd century, And when you look at the Pálava hill on the right hillside, where the right hillside of Pálava is touching the water, that are the waters of the Tája river, and the reservoir is called Nové mlýny. In English, we could translate as the new mills. But on the right hillside, there was the first evidence of winemaking in this region found. Cutting knife, metal cutting knife for wine, found at the historic site of a Roman camp. So in the 2nd century, the army of Marcus Aurelius was trying to conquer the northern territories, and on the right hillside there was the Roman camp having this wine knife found. But we have evidences much older from this area that it was populated. On the left hillside of the Pálava hill, we go as far back as 30,000 years. So we are going back to the Paleolithic, which means, of course, 30,000 years, part of Europe was covered with glaciers, and the climate definitely was not ready to grow any wine in here. So it was a community of mammoth hunters, and the first clay statue, first man-made clay statue, was found on the left hillside, the statue of Venus of Viestonice, and also the first map. So it's quite an ancient area here. So we can say that the Pálava hill is attracting people for not centuries, but for millennia.
For millennia, okay, good. I mean, this is a super nice to put it in perspective, right? Because it's kind of interesting to me that you have this hills in the background, and it is a name giver to like one of your flagship varieties that you have here, right? Because if you talk, you just like said of the long history of like Czech winemaking. I mean, you just like dated the winemaking back to the Romans, which is a big influence here. Then we had the Middle Ages, of course, where you had, especially as I'm informed, like Benedictine monks, right, who were cultivating the vineyard areas here. So a typical story of, let's say, most like traditional European wine growing areas. Czech Republic today has 17,000 hectares, 95% roughly here in Moravia. But interestingly, we see a split today, right? A lot of Vitis vinifera. So you are famous for great Riesling, you are famous for great Pinot Noir, Chardonnay, etc. But what we are tasting here today is more like indigenous variety, right? And the first one we have in the glass, maybe you could bridge, it's Pálava.
Yes.
Named after this hill.
Yes.
How does this come? As I mean, it's obviously linked to this place, I guess, right?
Again, the story. Where should I begin? So I start from the beginning. Pálava is the name of the hill, and it gave the name to the grape variety because back in the 50s, this was already communist rule in Czechoslovakia, in former Czechoslovakia. And to put it as it is, the communists, they always wanted to have the biggest statues, the strongest armies, the, I don't know, superb whatsoever, and this also counted for the grapes. So the idea was there will be a new grape which will have the yield as a Müller-Thurgau, but which would be as tasty as a Traminer. So back in the 1950s, the crossing of Pálava started on the right hillside in Perná, and 1977 the grape variety was officially inscribed in the State Register of Wines. So if I'm not mistaken, next year the grape will celebrate its 50th birthday.
Okay.
And here at Sonberk you have the opportunity to see Pálava in 4D, like when you go to movies where you put on these special glasses with one eye red and one eye blue. So the 4 dimensions of Pálava here at Sonberk go like this. You have 1D, the hill. 2D is the wines in front of the house, because all you can see from here, these wines are Pálava wines. Then you have the Pálava wine already in your glass. And if you would look down through the glassing into the production hall, there is the unbottled vintage 25 in the tanks. So 4 dimensions of Pálava you can see from one point.
Let's focus on dimension number 3, right? What do we have in the glass? I mean, you brought for us a Pálava, classic one.
Yeah, I have brought 4 versions, again, 4 versions of Pálava. What we are tasting now as first is from the vintage 2024, and this is a Pálava from the silver line, Sonberk. At Sonberk we sell in 2 lines, in a silver line for everyday drinking and in the Grand Cru line for more noble occasions. And now we are drinking 100% Pálava, dry style, very aromatic. It's probably giving you everything what a Traminer would give you, a lot of exotic fruits, maybe some rose petals, maybe some lychee, an elegant style of aromatic wine it should be.
It's kind of impressive how it really combines the grape varieties, right? Because as you said, you have the highly aromatic components of the Gewürztraminer. There's the lychee, it has a powerfulness, but it's more subtle. It's like toned down compared to, let's say, Gewürztraminer from Alsace.
Okay.
At the same time, I get like a little bit this greenish element, this vegetal element, which I would ascribe to Müller-Thurgau. I also have like an easy drinking flow, a freshness from Müller-Thurgau. And I can totally understand why this is popular. Because honestly, it fulfills this like idea of a highly aromatic wine, which is very nice and appealing in the nose without being overpowering. But it has a drinking flow on the palate, which is just like amazing, right? So it must be a bestseller, I assume.
I'm happy you are saying that, because it's probably more important what you think of the wine than what I think. No, when I welcomed you with the Riesling, that is the, let's say, that is the international entry point. This is a wine that also the international audience can understand, because they already heard from a Riesling from Germany, let's say, or from Austria or wheresoever. So Riesling for the audiences, for different audiences, is easily accessible, easily understandable. Once Sonberk Riesling is in the Mosel style of type Riesling, then we could roughly say that Riesling is the international language of Sonberk. And at the same time, we have a native language, and the native language would be Pálava. Would be Pálava. So if 25% of the vineyard, 11 hectares is Riesling, then 6 hectares of it is Pálava. And the pain with Pálava is, when I say 6 hectares, this is the biggest vineyard in the entire Czech Republic for Pálava. No one has more Pálava in one vineyard than Sonberk. You have had the everyday Pálava.
Yeah.
And now I'm giving you the Pálava VOC, wine of original certification. It's same vintage, same vineyard, same winemaker. But this is, of course you can do it everyday wine, but this is our main know-how. We have a Pálava for everyday drinking, and this would be the more major Pálava, where you can look a little bit more into future. When we say the silver line is like good for 3 years after harvest, then with this wine you can have fun 3 to 5 to 7 years in comparison. And then what we have not opened yet, but you might like to taste, is the sweet face of Pálava. Because when I said that this is a native grape, most people tell you that they don't want to taste it because it's too sweet for them. From the 1970s, people have been used to drinking sweet Pálava. Howsoever, the style was 90% of it was produced as sweet, and still this legend lives on that Pálava cannot be dry, cannot be in gastronomy, cannot be found in restaurants, because it's just a local wine with no real potential in gastronomy or the world howsoever. So Sonberk was one of the first, if not the first producer to produce a dry Pálava. And with this Pálava, what we are drinking now, this is the successor of the Pálava vintage 2015, which is up to date our most famous wine. And I tell you why. You only have a few wine competitions in the world where you really like to send your wines and collect the medals. So for Sonberk, it is the Decanter World Wine Awards as the biggest competition. The first really important medal we celebrated with Riesling in 2010 as the regional trophy. And when, with Pálava 2017, the Best in Show medal came, we were so surprised that we have to email back to London, like, what did we win? Sorry, excuse us. Because as you know, when you get a gold medal at Decanter, it means your wine is top 5%.
Yeah.
But when you get a best in show, like what does it mean?
Yeah.
From 17,000 samples, in that year, 30 bottles were awarded best in show. And when we look at the list, we realized our Pálava is the best dry white aromatic in the world. It's the first accolade of its type in Czech Republic until 2017 and after 2017. So no other winemaker could collect a best in show from Decanter, howsoever, only Sonberk.
And I mean, this is really something also like that that struck me in the preparation for visiting you today, right? Because exactly as you just said it, like you had to mail them back and ask like, what did we win? I also like read this and I was like, okay, what does this mean? That it is the best Pálava? And no, it is exactly as you explained it. The best aromatic wine judged by the judges in this year, right? I mean, outperforming like lots of famous like Assassin, Gewürztraminer or famous German Scheurebe producers, etc. And I mean, this is something to mention maybe also like to an international audience a little bit,
yes.
right?
Yes, it is always wonderful when you win a medal, but when you can say to the international audiences, hey, look, listen, Czech Republic is more than beer and Franz Kafka. It can be Moravia, it can be wine, and yes, we have vineyards, we grow wine, and you can come visiting here to this nice part of the Czech Republic, so this is our invitation.
That wine tourism is very important for you here, right? Because
yes,
we just had a beautiful discussion about export, etc. And I mean, that is maybe like a bit the problem with like many of these wine regions. I mean, we cannot sweet talk it in any way, but the communist era definitely did something to this like long-standing history of quality winemaking, right? I mean, the production went up, the quality went down in those years. So after 1989, the whole like wine scene in Czech Republic had to reorient itself and recover in a certain way, right? So it's so funny because it's often described as a young, vibrant wine scene with very long traditional roots, right? But this cut of 50 years created a fresh start. So export is today still something that many Czech wineries are struggling with, right? And the market is not getting easier. So you just said to me also with those beautiful estates that you have here, right? It seems like getting people here and showing them the beauty that you work with, the great landscape, the great hospitality of Czech people, that is probably the way forward, isn't it?
Definitely yes. Definitely yes, because when we look at the numbers we get from marketing surveys and trade surveys, that we see decline in wine sales, but we do not see the decline in wine tourism. And always it's repeated, like young people do not drink and they will not start. We cannot do anything with it, it's a personal choice. But of course we can attract the people to a landscape, show them the vineyard, show them that we can have a production which is manual, that every bottle goes through someone's hands, and that the ties to the land are very important. In Moravia you can feel it very well because Moravia is very much tied to its land. Maybe you have come across some traditions where people wear traditional national costumes, where they celebrate in the small villages. And this is not what would be typical for the rest of Czech Republic, let's say for Bohemia or Silesia. This is very typical for Moravia, that the people live in small villages, they are tied to their land. Also this traditional wearing of national costumes and these traditional folks celebrations are regaining popularity, and wine is part of these folks celebrations. So this is a thing which people like to see and like to visit. For instance, when we have done a wine presentation a few years back with international influencers and content creators, so everyone was fine with the wine, but there were some national dances in traditional costumes done, and that was like 80% of the content created, because the national costumes historically are very beautiful, very colorful, with embroidery and everything, so that is also part of Moravia.
You brought a third Pálava for us, so I think we should try that. So we have something noble wort is written on the bottle, and that is interesting stuff. Again, we come back to different like ripening stages, right? Very typical here, that you go for late harvest, that you go for noble wort even. Is
Yes,
that
with a late harvest, we would be somewhere around or over 21 degrees, and here we are over 24 degrees, and the berries have been affected by the noble rot Botrytis cinerea. So this was the last harvest, the last harvesting day of the year 2024. And it was only 3,000 grapes collected by hand in front of the house from these wines you see. And again, I will be talking about Decanter because this wine just got a medal, a gold medal last week. So now it's up to our guests and also up to you to decide what is better, the dry Pálava or the sweet Pálava, and which one belongs to gastronomy. I think both of them.
Cheers.
Cheers.
So what we talked about, like, inside before we went out and recording this interview, and that is also, like, for me, extremely striking with this wine. You said something about tropical nights, that in certain warm regions we talk about it when it's like the 30 degrees threshold. Here we talk about the 20 degrees threshold. And I could really feel it, like yesterday when I was sitting on the balcony outside in my apartment. Day was 32 degrees Celsius. Like, we are at the end of June, it's hot. But then very quickly its temperature dropped to 20 degrees Celsius at night or below. And this is, I think, really what I feel here in the glass, and also with the other white wines that we are producing. You get aromatic, you get ripeness, but you get also like a stunningly fresh and lively acidity here in the glass, right? So this, I mean, this balance, I mean, this is fun.
I'm happy you're saying it.
Is it something you're scared about for the future with global warming, etc.? Is it something that is affecting the region more and more? Or are you and the winemakers confident that the microclimate here works in your favor next 20 years ahead?
Well, as I said, Sonberk is here for 20 years and shortly more than 20 years, and we have the records of the temperatures for over 20 years, and this is a very short period to be judging on what will come next. So I don't want to be a good or bad prophet of what the future will bring. We only can say what is happening right now, and how we cannot even predict how this vintage will be.
Yeah.
So far we can say it's quite warm, as you mentioned, 32 degrees, but we received some rainfalls the other week ago. So for the vineyard at this time of the year, it's perfect because it has the humidity, it has the sun it needs. The vines were in bloom, so now we know that roughly in 100 days we will start the harvest. And we live day by day to be considering what will happen with the global climate change. We will see. We are here every day and we can react to the vineyard. We can take care of it as we already have the continuity. We can say that in the last 20 years we have seen an improvement for the blue grapes, for the mellow grapes we are growing. Yes, in the past we have had some years where we were not sure how to produce really good red wine, as we only have one red wine. When you consider Sonberk produces 150,000 bottles of wine, so 147,000 are white and only 3,000 bottles are red. This is the Merlot. So the biggest problem with Sonberk's Merlot is not the global warming, but that we only have 1 hectare of the grapes and 3,000 bottles. So the biggest problem is the aging. We never see it age because it's always sold out very quickly.
which is a tough problem to have in times of declining sales, but I can totally see it, that you would like to know how it develops in the bottle over like a period of time. What else from your estate would you highly recommend? The Riesling was pretty great that I got in the beginning, but what else would you say is like your personal favorite to try from Sonberk?
Yeah, Jan, We have not finished all of the Pálava. We have to try one more because last but not least, but when you look at the small bottle, this is actually the sole reason the house you see was built this way. And I have to probably elaborate on that because how can a 200 milliliters bottle shape the entire house?
I'm excited now about what you're opening because I read about it. So
Did you? Very well.
So please, explain a little bit the bridge between that bottle and the architecture.
This is a straw Pálava from the vintage 2023. And when I say a straw Pálava, this means the grapes were dried, so the grapes were collected as fresh grapes in the regular term, let's say in September, and then we dry them for at least 3 months. You maybe know the technology in Italy, Vinesanto, where you dry the grapes. So this is the same technology of drying the grapes and pressing raisins. So Sonberk's winemaker, Oldřich Drápal, is the first winemaker in the Czech Republic to produce sweet straw wine. The legend has it that when he was 17 and not of legal drinking age, that back in school he was not very keen of math or physics, so he started his own project of producing straw wine back in school. And every time he had to say to the teacher, "Excuse me, I have to go and check on my wine." So this is how the first straw wine came into being, and at Sonberk, that Oldřich could dry the grapes for this wine, you need a space to do it, to dry. You cannot do it indoors, you cannot do it outside because rain would come. So we have a special double roofing. Maybe you have noticed when you were approaching Sonberk that the roof is wavy.
Yeah.
So this is the second roof. And in between the first roof, which is covering the production hall, and this second roof with these waves, we have space where you can put wooden beds where you lay the grapes of Pálava and you dry them for at least 3 months. And then after the 3 months, you press the raisins. And this is the outcome. If we have tasted wines which were roughly 6 grams of residual sugar, the Pálava Noble Rot is around 50 grams of residual sugar. So now we are dealing with, let me tell you that, 194 grams of residual sugar. It cannot be only about the residual sugar. In naturally sweet wines, it always has to offer something more, some persistency, some archiving potential, some energy.
So what does when did you start doing that? I mean, this date is not so old, but when did you do the first vintage of that?
That is a good question, because first of all, we were experimenting with other varieties. We were experimenting with Pinot Gris and Sauvignon. And then we found out that Pálava is the right grape to cover all styles, from fresh and dry, over dry, to naturally sweet, to really a dessert wine. So this is the story of it.
I mean, you get it on your palate and you're just dreaming about what it's like in 20 to 30 years. So I ask you like what the oldest bottles are, but it's kind of really interesting to finish off the range of the fairly diverse grape variety that obviously nobody outside of Czech Republic really knows, unfortunately. I think this is a beautiful lineup you presented here. Acidity, striking in all of those. The aromatics also really beautiful, standing out. I think it's kind of interesting that on the one hand, Decanter is giving you, for example, really good points and calling you best wine in the show for the aromatics, but still it's something that people don't know outside of Czech Republic.
All of them are welcome to discover it.
I think that is something we should definitely change about it. Kristína, Thank you so much. When people come here, they can contact you, I guess, and book a tour or something like that, or just be here on the terrace and have some bottles of wine.
Always are possible.
Always are possible.
Yeah, all people can come here. We are open just like a normal wine bar, and when they come, they can just taste as they like, or they can order a tour, guided tasting, company event, wedding, or they can come to our summer concerts.
Beautiful. Summer concerts you have here too, yeah?
Yes,
okay,
of course.
Good. When is that?
That starts actually this Friday, and we will have this summer, this is already the 7th year we are having summer concerts, so up to the half of August we are having 13 concerts of Czech interpreters here.
Beautiful. I will definitely put the links to that in the show notes, and also the contact details of the winery, so people can come around and book a tour. Kristína, thank you for your time. It was great to be here.
Happy to have you.
And cheers in Pálava.
Ciao.